invitation. And so first of all, thank you so much for having me here once again. I'm very good with faces. I can spot you if I see you in Portland, any one of you, easily. I'm not great with names. I think that has come with time. Yeah, so ever since I hit 50, I stopped remembering names. But I remember faces, so I feel very welcome here. I was actually looking, and Ken and I were going back and forth about the invitation and what would work, when a good time would be for me to come. And I was actually preparing to go to Ghana in February to do this work, which is something that is part of the plan for me to go once a year and make sure everything is running as it should on the ground. And so we went back and forth, and the time that worked, the dates that worked was today. And then I realized when I was looking at my calendar, it's exactly 1 year ago that I spoke over here. Yeah, so it was meant to be. And I say this because I really enjoy being here, and I feel a sense of belonging when I'm amongst you. So thank you so much for inviting me to share what I see as an extension of myself. Okay? And so for those of you who were not here last time when I spoke about this, as Chris introduced me, I am a professor of criminal justice at Western Oregon University. And this is my 21st year as a professor over there. Curious about my age? I'm used to it. I'm 52. I've actually had times when I've walked into class when I was much younger, and especially for new students, and they look around and okay, why is she going to the front of the classroom? And then I think some of them start by saying, oh, maybe she's a teaching assistant. And then I introduce myself as their professor, and I have to assure them that yes, I have a PhD, and yes, I'm old enough to teach. And then, I get that. Anyway, so today I'll be talking to you a little bit about this work. And when I first was invited to speak, Ken reached out to me. Somehow he reaches out to me a lot when I have something to do with Ghana. Because he reached out to me, and at that time I was actually in Ghana, putting this organization together. And so I wrote back and said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm out of the country at the moment, but I'll be happy to come and speak. And so I asked because the very first time I came here, I spoke about restorative justice. And so I asked what the interest would be for me to speak about, and he said, just speak about whatever is alive for you at the moment. And like I said the other time, nothing could be more alive for me than sickle cell solutions right now. So I said, yes, I'll be here to talk about it. And a little bit about how I got there to that point was at some point in my academic career, as often happens, I went into administration as I got through the tenure track process and got tenured and became a professor. Then you are expected to take on some administrative roles, and then by the time I realized I had a big administrative role that had me overseeing 20 professors and about almost 500 students in my unit. So I go on to do this for 8 years, and needless to say, around after the pandemic and lockdown and all of the adjustments that needed to happen, I was burned out. I was severely burned out. I couldn't even get out of bed some days. I was just exhausted. I had given it all, which is a blessing and not so great sometimes of something that I have, which is I tend to tell my colleagues, don't worry about telling me things that you're not comfortable with, because I hear what you're not saying. You know. So I because of that, I had carried on supporting, giving all to the people around me and making sure everybody was okay. That by the end of that process, my body told me, hey, it's time, stop. So at this stage, I'm also thinking, and as I listen to what's going on in this room, there's a beauty in the changes that we go through in life. There are ups and downs, and the beauty of it all is, even as I heard about the joys and concerns and all of that, the beauty of it all that I've come to find out is just having a community of people who are just there for you. Not necessarily because they can solve your problems, but just having people there who get you and understand you is enough to keep us going. And so it's this tapestry of life that, you know, makes it so complex but beautiful at the same time. So at that point, I didn't interpret my own burnout as something that was a problem. It was an opportunity for my body to say, stop, okay, stop, and refocus, right? And so when I stopped, when I listened to my body, I felt like 21 years ago when I started teaching, I couldn't wait to go to the classroom to teach. It was the job that I would do for free if nobody was paying me. I enjoy being in the classroom. I don't paint, I sing, but I don't paint, I don't play an instrument, I don't, some people escape and do those things. Truly, my escape was in the classroom, because I'm my most creative self when I'm in conversation with people. That's why I have to keep watching the clock and stop myself, because I could just have a conversation with you forever. Okay. And so that was the drive that kept me going to class and interacting with my students. And then when I got into administration, all 8 years of that period, I was happy to be there for my colleagues, for the faculty who looked up to me for support in times of difficulty and for praise in times of joy, right? And so I was there to do that, and happily so, because I have a difficult time doing things unless I find a bigger purpose in them. And part of it is because I myself suffer with sickle cell disease. And sickle cell is an incurable hereditary disease that comes with tremendous amount of suffering, pain. I proudly tell my age because nobody thought I would make it this far. Okay, so when I was a kid, they thought maybe she'll make it to her teenage years, and that would be great. And then I made it, and then, okay, maybe 20s. Yeah, she's doing okay. Then, okay. And then I'll have meetings with my doctors and present certain issues, and I will get that, the life expectancy for a person with sickle cell is about 40, 50 at most. And so, it's almost like, okay, well, you live with this disease, so you have to expect certain things, right? But I kept defying the odds, not because I was special. So the fact that I could give of myself to my students and give of myself to my colleagues and to my university, and give to agencies around me to try to soften them a little bit, and bring some humanity into the world of criminal justice that doesn't tend to be that easily relational. My work has been trying to work with these agencies through that research center, which has been going well. Anyway, so then I thought, okay, so for a person like me who wasn't supposed to make it this far, why? Because sickle cell disease runs in families because it's a hereditary disease, right? It runs in families. Thankfully for my parents, though, of 5 kids, only I got sickle cell. So at least they only had one person with sickle cell disease to worry about. But that's not the case for a lot of families. Some people, just for, just the chance of this disease, end up with all their kids having sickle cell disease, which is something that I have found in doing this work in Ghana. So I thought, well, okay, I'm just going to now claim that I'm going to live a normal life, healthy life, as healthy as can be. I'm going to live that life, and I'm going to hopefully live the same lifespan as a person like me who otherwise didn't have sickle cell. And so what do I do with that, right? It's not by accident, because I've seen my cousins die. I've seen my colleagues in school die. I know many dead people, unfortunately, in my life because of sickle cell disease. And so being here and having been given this opportunity, I believe is for a message for me to finish my life's purpose before it's time to go. And so when I burned out, I looked for the opportunity in that. What is the message here for me? So I looked back and I said, nobody thought I could make it through school. I did. Nobody thought I could live and have a career, And I've done that. Actually, to the top of my career. I've done it all the way to the end, right? And so what next? So I thought about it, and as I heard earlier about seasons in our lives, right? So I thought, okay, if the first third of my life was to grow and mature into who I am, and the second third of my life is to work and be productive and contribute to my community, I've done both. But the third part is to give back. And here I am with a life that wasn't expected, but here I am with that gift in my hand. It's time to give back. So sickle cell disease is incurable. And basically, because of the limited resources for helping people with sickle cell stay healthy, that population tends to almost be dismissed as, you're here briefly with us and you're gone. And so it's almost like even as you are growing up, your goodbyes are also being said, right? And so that means, ordinarily people don't invest in their children with sickle cell, because in the end, they may not live very long, or, it's just going to put them through a lot of struggles and for nothing, And I've seen that, unfortunately, where, even in university, graduating and then hearing that the person you just graduated with died last week, Oh, you know, it's a very common story. And so I decided to give back, and I thought two things. I thought, okay, I have this gift now of sickle cell disease, so I understand people living with it. And I've had a gift of having a family that had the resources to provide everything I needed health-wise, which wasn't the case for others. And I've had the opportunity to live a life that I find fulfilling, and one that if I were to go today, I would say was a life that I lived faithfully. And so, but it's been a life of pain. And so I've become a person who doesn't recognize when I'm in pain until I pause to listen to my body. Because to me, I'm used to pain that is excruciating. And so, you know, I imagine this. And in all honesty, the people we work with, I keep a little bit of distance between me and them. Just because I literally feel pain when I see a little kid feeling the pain that I felt growing up. I can't do it. So I have a sister who works with me who screens all the pictures that come in for the people we serve, right? So that I don't get ones that are too difficult to live with, right? So I went to Ghana that time, and one Ken contacted me, and while I thought I was there to just get things settled, to get this organization running, I was told about a young woman who was expecting and who had sickle cell. And oftentimes, sickle cell is not a disease that, you know, does well with a person getting pregnant. And so that's already a dangerous thing. And so my goal was, well, while I'm here, let me go visit this person as the first patient of sickle cell. So we drive into this remote village where there's no healthcare, nothing. And I meet this woman who comes out, and my heart sinks because I realized without a doubt I was staring death in the face. And so it was the unspoken thing there where I was the whole time thinking, there's no way this woman will make it. There's no way. But I was there to hold her and talk to her and encourage her and pay her medical bills. And so within a week of meeting her, and her labor was past due at this point. And so all the dangers were there, suggesting that this is not looking good. So I provided the money that was needed to get her to the hospital and had people, you know, take care of her, take her to the hospital. And so she got to the hospital and the doctors determined right away that she needed a blood transfusion quickly. And so they had her on blood transfusions right away. And within a day of the blood transfusions, she went into labor. And they had to do a C-section right away, and with, you know, holding my breath and praying for her, I got the news that she had delivered her baby and she was well, although she was still weak and anemic. That was the least of our worries at that point. And I'm happy to say she's now happy, healthy, has her baby. Her baby is healthy, doesn't have sickle cell, and they are both thriving. So that was the one thing, and I thought, if that's the only thing I do with this, then I've done it. The goal has been reached. That was it for me. And so I came back, and then were able to hire a nurse. And this is a small organization, the funding largely comes from me and my family, to be honest. We are the people who donate most into it. But I say this, and it's become like beating a dead horse, that this is what makes me happy. This to me is like baking a cake, where you put the ingredients in there, you put it in an oven, and then you get a cake. That instant gratification of something being produced is what I'm experiencing every single day. I get the reports from Ghana. And I've shared some pictures where you would see patients, where we find them in a situation where the hospital finds out about us and says, "Oh, okay, we have these, we call them frequent flyers to the hospital." That means they are in there at least once every 2 weeks and they need a blood transfusion because of their anemia, right? And so I said, yeah, whenever you meet these frequent flyers, refer them to us, right? And so I brought a few pictures to share with you. And, we've been able to hire a nurse who is a community health nurse, trained, actually certified to work even in the United States, has that level of skills. And so, and we don't pay very much. We pay $100, which in that economy amounts to something significant. So we have this one nurse who travels the community, visits the patients, brings them a monthly supply of nutritious food that they otherwise won't have. And so on that last page, you see a picture, a sample of food that we provide. And that cost us about $30 per person per family. So if it's a family with 2 kids who have sickle cell, then it's $60 we're putting in that family's life. I have 2 more minutes. So you would see that what I talk about the instant gratification is when we first see these patients, they are in a state that is difficult for me to watch. I'm only able to see their pictures after we've had them, sometimes only for 1 month. And then you see them and they are playing again in the community. They've been kids, and I had the first parents call me because nobody had ever cared about her kids. She just thought of them as, this cross that she had to bear, and see these little kids as they died, right? And so when we showed up, we provided hope, and that means a lot to me. We provided hope, and then the nurse put her on the line on a call to me while I was here in the United States, and this mother said, "Thank you for doing this," and said, the question she asked me is, "Do you think these kids will become people?" Right? And then that's when I said, I am a person with sickle cell. And I became a person. Okay, so hold on to hope. And that's the mom with the 2 boys that is in front, where the boys were in really bad shape. I didn't have a color printer at home, and so I printed these off, but I think they sent the message. And so I'm right on time, so I'm rounding up here. So we get these reports every month. The nurse goes and pays a visit and advises the families on good practices for taking care of their kids and providing the food for nutrition. And so far, it's been working. One last thing I want to say before I end this is that during the year after I came and spoke, our goal was to get 10 patients who would have for the whole year, and we did. And so we told the nurse, okay, come January 2025, we'll open up for another set of patients so that hopefully we can get to 20. As I speak to you, end of January, we get a report from the nurse. We have 8 new patients just in January. So we are almost doubling our numbers already. So the goal is to grow this gradually so that the people we take care of will be able to benefit, because sickle cell requires consistency. And so that's what we're doing. So you have my card, the sickle cell card that I have, because when I talk about this, people ask how they may be of help. I totally understand things are difficult. We all live in difficult times. We all have our different challenges. And I'm not great with asking for money anyway. And so I give these cards out to people who find out about what we're doing, so that if you come across somebody who is in a position to help, just pass it on to them. There's a code on the back where you can scan, and it will take you to a page where you can donate. So that's why you have those. So if you would if there are extra ones around that you can hand off to people who are in a position to be able to help, just knowing that $1 a day, and by the way, once we got these patients in, we also have a fund for their hospitalization, and these patients have gone from going to the hospital twice a month to sometimes once a year. So that's how much the gratification of it all. And so I believe that my life was meant for a time as this. And so I'm happy whenever I'm asked to share. Thank you very much.